that you were solving? What was that? The original equation?
Oh, right here.
What was it?
X squared minus 9 equals 16.
X squared minus 9 equals 16. All right.
Solve it with a graph, and then
Okay. So let me show you this. There's two ways to solve this. One way you can factor.
it wants you to factor and graph
One way you can factor it,
and get square root.
and the other way you take the square root. So I'm going to do the factoring first. So for factoring, if I say x squared minus 9 equals 16, for factoring, you want to set it equal to 0. So that means I'm going to subtract 16 from both sides. And I get x squared. What is negative 9 minus 16? It's negative 25, and that's equal to 0. Remember that when you factor things, the reason they want us to set it equal to 0 is because 0 times 0 is 0. So if I factor this, I can take this factor, set it equal to 0 and solve, and this factor and set it equal to 0. What you guys should have learned in Algebra 1, but we had COVID, and so it may not just jump in the front of your head, is that x squared minus 25 is a thing that we call a difference of squares. And that's a pattern that you should recognize. But even if you don't recognize the pattern, x times x equals x squared. How do I get negative 25? What numbers do I multiply to get negative 25? Well, positive 5 times negative 5 equals negative 25, right? So then in here, what's negative 5 times x? Negative 5x. What's positive 5 times x? Positive 5x. What's positive 5x minus 5x? 0. So those cancel, and basically what I said was, or what I've solved for, is that x minus 25 is the same as x plus 5 times the quantity x minus 5, and that equals 0. But remember, 0 times 0 equals 0, so x plus 5 should equal 0, just like x minus 5 could also equal 0. Then you just solve. Subtract 5 on both sides, and you get x equals negative 5. Over here, you're going to add 5 to both sides, and you get x equals positive 5. Those are your two solutions. That's how you got the solutions, by factoring, right? You got them by factoring. Now, when you do the same problem by taking the square root, this one you get to do because you're going to add 9 to both sides. And you get x squared is equal to 25. So now when I take the square root over here, I get x by itself. Oh, that's not a good square root. If I take the square root here, whatever I do on one side, I do to the other. And remember, when you take the square root of something, you got a plus or minus solution, right? So the square root of x squared is just x. And then the square root of 25 is 5. So then you get plus or minus 5. Okay? So when it says do the square root, they want you to do the stuff in red. When it says factor, they want you to do the stuff in blue and green. The answer will be the same for either one. I hope that helps.